Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, an apology from Israel for an attack that accidentally killed 5 journalists. The Prime Minister calls it a tragedy, but the Israeli military warns it is dangerous covering a group like Hamas, where its members hide among civilians. We're going to bring you the story from Jerusalem. President Donald Trump saying he wants the war in Gaza over in 2 to 3 weeks, but at the same time reminding everyone to, quote, remember October 7th. International superpowers carrying military exercises on waters close to America, raising concerns about national security. We'll take you to a place that could serve as a strategic location to protect America, and spreading the gospel in a most unusual way with graffiti. We're going to take you to Chicago, where one artist is using spray paint to help share the word of God. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We're going to begin this Tuesday, August 26, with an apology from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for an attack in Gaza Monday that killed 5 journalists. Netanyahu calls it a tragedy, but as CBN's Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, the Israeli military points out it also shows the dangers of dealing with an enemy like Hamas, who hides among civilians.
The Prime Minister's office released a statement that said, in part, Israel deeply regrets the tragic mishap that occurred today at the Nasser hospital in Gaza. Israel values the work of journalists, medical staff, and all civilians. Our war is with Hamas terrorists. Our just goals are defeating Hamas and bringing our hostages home. The IDF said an investigation is underway.
As a professional military committed to international law, we are obligated to investigate our operations thoroughly and professionally. The Chief of the General Staff has instructed that an inquiry be conducted immediately to understand the circumstances of what happened and how it happened.
Defram added that the IDF faces challenges in fighting Hamas.
Reporting from an active war zone carries immense risk, especially in a war with a terrorist organization such as Hamas, who cynically hides behind the civilian population.
I think we do need to place this in a certain context, and that is the role of hospitals as used by the Hamas organization inside the Gaza Strip.
Jonathan Spire from the Middle East Forum told CBN News how he found out the way Hamas uses hospitals.
As a result of some issues I was involved with last year, found myself in the summer of 2024 talking to a person inside one of the hospitals, Shahada Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah. And this person, talking to myself and my colleague in real time on WhatsApp, on our phones, was saying, yeah, I'm in this hospital, we're surrounded by Hamas operatives, there are certain parts of the hospital that we're not allowed to go to because they're for the exclusive use of Hamas. That was an actual eyewitness on the ground telling me that. And I think this fits in with that picture that we know that the Hamas organization very cynically is making use of medical facilities.
Spire says the media often misses this important context.
Unfortunately, I think what we've seen is, certainly in regard of a number of very prominent media organizations, is a willingness to take at face value claims and figures and reports coming out of Gaza produced by the Hamas Authority itself or by individuals closely associated with it.
Meanwhile, in the Oval Office, President Trump said he's not happy about the incident, but he hopes the war will be over soon.
I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have pretty good conclusive ending. And it's a hard thing to say because they've been fighting for thousands of years. If you want to know, that's been a hotbed forever. But I think we're doing a very good job. But it does have to end. But people can't forget October 7th.
On the international front, Australia today severed diplomatic ties with Iran and expelled its diplomats. The Prime Minister is accusing Iran of orchestrating extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression on Australian soil, including arson attacks. Iran's foreign minister dismissed the charges, calling them a smokescreen to compensate for Israel's recent criticism of Australia for its support of a Palestinian state.
Going to continue our coverage now with Chris Mitchell reporting from Israel. So, Chris, does Israel worry tragedies like the one at the hospital create even more problems for Israel's war in Gaza in the eyes of the world and the international media?
I think they worry quite a bit about that, Ephraim. They don't like to see incidents like this happen. You know, for the Prime Minister's office and the IDF, first of all, to apologize and then begin an investigation shows that they take this quite seriously. They do understand the kind of context that what happens, as Jonathan Spire said in our report, you know, Hamas uses hospitals all the time. They have done this for many, many years. In fact, in some of the previous wars, it was known that many of the Hamas leaders hid under many of the hospitals, knowing that the IDF would not attack a hospital. Yet now here we are after October 7th, and as the IDF is trying to defeat Hamas militarily, they also understand that Hamas continues to use hospitals, medical staff. However, this was a tragic incident. You know, some of the journalists as well as some of the rescue workers were tragically killed in this incident, but it is taken very seriously by Israel, and they try to do what they can to mitigate harm to civilians and journalists.
Does the fact that Hamas hides among the civilian population increase the risk for dangers, events like this?
Oh, incredibly. And it's a very, very difficult battlefield that the IDF is maneuvering in. And as I said, you know, knowing that Hamas uses medical facilities like this, I can think of an example back in 1982, back there in another instance, Ephraim, which many of these jihadi groups actually fire out of civilian areas. At that particular time, the IDF responded, and tragically, I think over 50 people died in that area. But sometimes it's a strategy by Hamas or other jihadist groups to use civilians as human shields. So when they fire out of civilian areas or perhaps a hospital or other places and expecting a response by the IDF, then tragically civilians can be caught in the crossfire. That is a way that really demonizes, that Hamas tries to use that to demonize Israel. And it's just the kind of battlefield, not only militarily on the ground in Gaza, but also in the public relations arena around the world. And as Jonathan Spire said, sadly, some of the international media will report on things, but sadly miss the context of what is happening in a situation like what happened yesterday.
As we heard in your report, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, says that he expects the war in Gaza to be over in 2 to 3 weeks. Is this realistically possible?
Well, it seems unlikely, Ephraim. I think the IDF is looking at more like 2 to 3 months of an operation inside Gaza City. I think they want to go methodically, understanding that within Gaza City, there's a labyrinth of tunnels that have yet to be discovered and that Hamas can use to ambush and come against IDF as they move systematically and incrementally into Gaza City. So I think it's going to take a lot more than 2 to 3 weeks. I think the IDF is predicting much more than that. And in the meantime, there's two things that are happening, Ephraim. First of all, they want to move maybe up to 1 million Gazans out of harm's way before they actually go into Gaza City in a major way. And also they're calling up reservists. Some of those may not be online until September 1st.
Now, we did hear the president say that we have to remember October 7th. Does Israel expect that the president here will continue to support their war efforts?
I think so, Ephraim, and I think he has. I think it's very difficult when you hear and see incidents like yesterday, tragic and unfortunate. But I think that the president will continue to support Israel. I think Israel's made the case to him of what Israel needs to do to defeat Hamas, and that it's important that victory is achieved by Hamas, and it's not allowed to continue. Those are the two goals of the war. That the three goals being release all the hostages or free them, to defeat Hamas militarily, and to make sure that they don't govern Hamas after Gaza after the war.
As you reported, Australia is accusing Iran of organizing anti-Semitic attacks. Is Israel aware of Iranian activities like this in multiple countries?
I think they are, Ephraim, and I think the Mossad does an incredible job of tracking what Iranian operatives do around the world, and that they may have actually helped Australia in this intelligence, but they do for many Western countries is provide that intelligence for various Western governments. So I'm sure that the Mossad is tracking Iranian movements globally.
What's expected today on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, on Jerusalem Dateline, we have an interview with Hillel Fould. He's a social media influencer here. He spoke with Chuck Colton about the plight of Jews worldwide and what they must do. It's a fascinating interview. We also have an interview with Jonan Harunov. He wrote a book called Unveiled. It's talking about the plight of Iranian women inside Iran. And finally, we have another story on Aliyah. Paul Petit, our visiting correspondent, was down there at David Ben Gurion, and he talks about how Aliyah is on prophecy unfolding before our very eyes.
All right, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your insights. Look forward to hearing from you in the days ahead this week. I want to remind you at home, you can get the latest from Jerusalem Dateline this evening at 8 Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News channel. You can also find it on the CBN News app as well as YouTube. Coming up, as global superpowers have carried out military exercises on the seas close to the U.S., raising worries for national security, we're going to take you to a place that gives America strong advantage for its protection, Puerto Rico. We're going to have that story when we come back. International powers are quietly moving into the island region south of Florida. Those actions are raising concerns for America's national security. But defense experts believe America has a strong advantage in the region, Puerto Rico. National security correspondent Caitlin Berg traveled to the U.S. territory, and she reports how a little investment could go a long way against America's international rivals.
Best known for its culture and beaches, Puerto Rico is also considered by many to be a strategic stronghold, with the potential to give the U.S. a critical edge as China and Russia expand their presence in the Caribbean.
Puerto Rico, being geostrategically located, provides us as part of the nation to become a buy-in to our national security, and to ensure that our national assets can be positioned here for deterrence in the region.
Over the last decade, the two superpowers have focused in on the Caribbean basin, Beijing investing billions on trade and infrastructure deals, while also establishing a spy base in Cuba. Meanwhile, Moscow has taken a more threatening approach with weapons sales, training, and joint military exercises.
As recently as last November, October-November, major Russian joint exercises were conducted in the Caribbean Sea, where, interesting enough, a nuclear submarine surfaced, and it was carrying hypersonic nuclear weapons.
Secretary of Puerto Rico's Department of Public Safety, Art Garfer, who also serves as Homeland Security Advisor, tells CBN News adversaries are getting too close for comfort.
That whole southern area of the Caribbean Sea is now controlled or influenced by not necessarily friendly nations to the United States.
Andres Martinez Fernandez, a senior policy analyst with the Heritage Foundation, points out China could now have the ability to disrupt critical trade routes there.
If there's a disruption in the ability to move goods and even military equipment and warships across them, it can have very significant consequences for the United States. And as kind of the risk of war over Taiwan increases, I think the United States is looking very seriously at what that means for Chinese presence and projection powers within our hemisphere.
Secretary Garfer believes it's time the U.S. took advantage of the geostrategic positioning of Puerto Rico.
We got two deep sea ports, one on the eastern side, one on the southern side. We do have two of the longest runways in the Caribbean basin that were used for military purposes as well. So these sites can be used once again, even if at a limited capacity, to forward project from here over the horizon as a means to deter Russian and Chinese overt aggression into the region.
Garfer sees it as simply a matter of investing in and building out those facilities, a move that would benefit both national and domestic security.
Drug trafficking organizations, violent extremist organizations, transnational criminal organizations continue to shift and look for LOCs, right? Because the southern border now in California all the way to Texas has been shut down. They have to see where they need to shift and move in order to keep their business going. So Puerto Rico could fall into that vector or that area of approach into the United States.
As the Heritage Foundation prepares a new report on Puerto Rico, Martinez Fernandez tells CBN News there's an opportunity to restore the territory to the national security asset it once was.
Puerto Rico can play a much bigger role, and I think there's an important opportunity with new leadership on the island and the second Trump administration to really seize on that.
With China and Russia making moves in America's backyard, experts say it's time to invest in Puerto Rico, turning its strategic location into the defense hub the U.S. needs in the Caribbean. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, San Juan.
Spreading the gospel with graffiti. The artist AD is painting positive messages on Chicago's South Side and sharing his passion for Christ. We're going to bring you a closer look at the graffiti right after this. Graffiti is often associated with crime, dissent, and rebellion. On Chicago's South Side, one artist is using his talent and cans of spray paint for a redemptive angle as a creative way to share the gospel. CBN's John Jessup brings us this story.
When it comes to religious art, most people think of stained glass windows or Michelangelo's famous frescoes in the Sistine Chapel. For some, it also includes graffiti and street art.
Show up the first day to paint. Finally, I just started coming by faith, seeing the progression happen.
Eric Diaz, who goes by AD, started as a graffiti artist in his teens and is still at it. AD's latest work is showcased in Chicago's South Side. This colorful mural, commissioned for an evangelistic shoe giveaway, recently covered by CBN News.
People, regulars, would come by, hug, I love your work, like smile from ear to ear. You're doing amazing, let's go, like UPS drivers.
Today, his art is sanctioned, unlike the time he picked up his first can of spray paint.
I'm getting arrested. The police officers are like taking my spray tips and I remember them throwing them.
That all changed when he became a Christian. AD planned to leave graffiti behind. Then summer youth camp mentors convinced him to keep it up and remember to use a key Bible verse as his guide.
And they began to use my gifts. They said, hey, we want to put some spray cans in your hands. So 1 Corinthians 10:31, a very special verse to me. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do unto the glory of God. And I put that spray paint back in my trunk, and so now I began to do it for the Lord.
It's a principle AD instills when painting.
You know what Jesus prayed for 3 times? Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me.
Preaching at summer youth camps, or while involved in his other passion, mentoring young kids.
We also go to where students spend most of their time already, their schools.
AD manages volunteers for Chicago's GRIP Outreach for Youth, where he and others help kids grow spiritually and gain important life skills.
I would not be getting my associate's degree, coming out of high school with my associate's degree. I would not be doing none of this if it wasn't for my mentor of teaching me how to see life in a different way.
Having AD as a mentor is one of the most grateful and pleasurous things of having him. He's a great mentor.
Eric says projects like these used to be self-serving and filled him with pride. Now it's about community, painting positive messages and sharing his passion, and sometimes even his paint, with the unreached and the next generation.
He's found graffiti offers a way to connect with young kids, helping them navigate the pressures of growing up.
With the social media generation, there's no room for weakness, there's no room for poverty, so there's a lot of fronts. These facades, they don't come down until they know that you care about them, and then we meet that need and we show them the love of Christ.
Christian ministries like the Gospel Graffiti Crew show the art form has moved beyond rap and hip-hop culture. AD believes his work resonates on both artistic and spiritual levels.
We are longing for freedom, we're longing for life, for redemption, and somehow I think spray paint and graffiti captures that. It's like you see browns, you see grays everywhere, and then all of a sudden you're driving on the highway, or you see on the L, you see life.
The pride he feels on pieces like this one is not just personal, it's shared, with his young audience learning the ropes and gaining confidence, as well as the community at large.
I hope that he does more of these across the city, because it brings like a positive message to the city of hope, of light, sharing the gospel.
AD wants that positive message to last long after the paint peels or fades away. John Jessup, CBN News, Chicago.
Coming back with an encouraging word for your Tuesday. Stay with us. Time for your Tuesday Tweetable. It's a message I pray encourages you, and I hope that you will post tag tweet and share it with those in your circles of influence. There is no denying you feel what you feel. You are a human being living with emotions. Feel your emotions. They are a passenger on the journey, but don't put them in the driver's seat. With that word, make this a terrific Tuesday and have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Make it a terrific Tuesday, and come back here and join us again tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.